Ma Qiu is located in the northeastern Hong Kong and it is part of the Hong Kong National Geopark. The size of the entire island is about 60 hectares, and this island is rich in biological and geological resources. The area is an ideal place to study coastal features, geology, and geography. To us, the reason to study Ma Qiu is to understand the geological and biological resources of the island. Ma'am, could you further introduce Ma Qiu to us?
This is the route to Ma Qiu. After we get off from the minibus, we walk through a fisherman village with 30 years of history. In the village, you can see a lot of fishermen offering such boat trips to Ma Qiu. Also, there are lots of docks for fish boats. In the village, there is also a newly established Geoheritage Center.
This center is the first Geopark education and visitor center in our city. The center provides information on ecology, culture, and history of the area around Ma Qiu. It also displays some rock specimens collected from the island. The center also runs guided tour on ecology and geology. This is our decided routes for tourists.
The first checkpoint of our tour is the tombolo. This 100-meter-long tombolo is one of the most significant features on the island. Tombolo is a coastal landform. It joins the island Ma Qiu with the land on the other side. That's why we can simply walk but not swim to Ma Qiu. The tombolo is formed because sand and gravel gradually deposit by the action of waves at the narrow gap between the island and the land. As time goes, the sand accumulates and finally creating a road leading to Ma Qiu. Today, the tombolo is still building up. Each time during high tide, sediments are brought onto the tombolo. So, before you go to Ma Qiu, do remember to check the tides. Otherwise, if the tombolo is covered by the high tides, you really have to swim. On the small hill just before the tombolo, it is the best place to have a complete view of the entire island. Don't forget to take your pictures. After walking through the tombolo, you will arrive at shelter. Here is the only place you may take rest at the shade. On the bulletin board in the shelter, some basic background of the island is provided.
Ma Qiu becomes part of the Geopark because there are different kinds of rocks and geological features. Being located at the coast, sedimentary rocks are commonly found. For example, this sandstone is reddish-brown in color because they contain really much of iron oxides. Just a few steps forward, mushroom are also found. The grain size making up the mushroom is even smaller than that of sandstone. It is therefore very fine-grained and has a very smooth texture.
The second checkpoint is a feature named Typhoon Dragon. Look, does it sound like the badge of a dragon? In fact, different rocks have different resistance towards weathering and erosion. And the rocks which have higher resistance are featured vice versa. This has created different rates of weathering and erosion, and thus, finally, harder rock buildings projecting, softer ones have been removed. What do you think about the future of this dragon? I'm sure that it will keep diving into the sea and finally completely submerge or geographically erode.
The next checkpoint is this sausage. It is an important hint to understand the processes at work on the island in the past. This rocky sausage is formed by 3 layers of rocks. The rocks at the middle is a sandstone layer which is darker in color, and the outer parts are siltstone and mudstone. Due to the compression of sediments, the lower rock layer was compressed and expanded outward. The sandstone layer in the middle was cracked. The compression and hardening processes continued, and finally, the sandstone was broken down in sections.
Let's come to the last checkpoint. If I say the tombolo symbolizes the start of our tour, this fold structure represents the end of our trip. Look, this gorgeous fold rock is one of the biggest in Hong Kong. Stand on it, try to feel the power of the nature in folding up this rock.
Ma Shi Chao is not only about rocks, it's also the home for flora and fauna. For example, there's a tree named Flash's Birch. It comes from dry areas. Because of the spiny appearance, this plant was originally used by the fishermen. They believed that this plant could safeguard them during the fishing journey on the sea. When the fishermen retired, this plant also transplanted to the land. In fact, Ma Shi Chao is also home for egrets and black kids. Egret lives nearly at the coast, and they rely on fishes and marine animals. Black kids are the top predator on the food chain, and they always live in the coastal woods in order to catch the food easily. They are also glider, making good use of the uprising air current. They seldom swing their wings when looking for food in the air.
On Ma Shi Chao, there are a lot of rock pools along the coast, and the environment in the rock pools is really extreme, as the temperature and salinity fluctuate greatly from days to nights. At daytime, walls are heated up under intense sunlight, and the water temperature may go up to 40 degrees Celsius. Water in the rock pool evaporates, and therefore salinity rises. At nighttime, the quick release of heat from the rock cools the water. However, the ability of wildlife is amazing. Look carefully. You can observe some small crabs and fishes in the rock pools. These animals were brought to the rock pools from waves and tides, and will be returned to the sea when next waves and tides come.
There's so many attractions on Ma Shi Chao. However, before you go, you must remember that the shelter at the beginning of the trip is the only thing man-made on the island. Recently, an argument comes up if the authorities shall build more facilities on Ma Shi Chao to promote tourism and geology. Of course, facilities like washroom, kiosks can provide convenience to visitors. This would attract more people to visit, and probably they would understand and appreciate more the nature. However, convenience also attracts tourists who visit Ma Shi Chao merely for fun. If the number of tourists exceeds the carrying capacity of the facility and the environment, destruction will be result. For example, waste are not properly and efficiently treated.
Fourth, additional facilities require extra space. This unavoidably leads to removal of vegetation and rocks. This alternation of natural environment is not supported. In fact, conservation has a close relationship with tourism. Without careful management, tourism may cause pollution and threaten the biodiversity. However, in another way, tourism may be the factor that lets the government put more effort and resources on the conservation of natural heritage. This is the end of our presentation. We hope you enjoy with us. I'm Karen.
Name.
Gigi.
Thank you for your attention.